Now in this part we'll be working on variable and values of nodes in effect house. So you can first disconnect this update, and you can either comment this one or delete as well. So keep here. And you can simply scale this using your scroll as well. And now we'll be talking about two important things that are required for these variables. So the one is set. So what it does is it is similar to we set the score or any other value. So it helps us to change or assign any value that we require. Like if I do it in programming, then I would do like score equals to 5, then the value of score will be 5. So that is the use of set in node. And similarly get helps to pick inside the particular value or object. Like if I use get in get materials or get color, then I'll be able to see what color is inside that particular object. So it is used like if the particular score is greater than equal to 3, so which is get, I will kind of do a function. So similarly it is used in node in similar way. Like if I want to get what is there inside of materials or what value is there in that particular object, if I want that value and I want to work around that value, then I will use get. Let's hide this one. So if you look closely into this code that we have used previously, then we can see get and set here as well. So what we are doing with get is which screen or which scene object we are using, we want to get that. So which is available here, here is a screen image is available, so we are using getting that one using this get scene object. And set is that we want to set the visibility to toggle, like if it is in on state we want to off, or if we want to close, so we are using set visibility here. And we are looking to this one, and if you look closely into this, so we are first getting the scene object and we are making it to hide after it shows for a certain period of time. So that is the use of get and set. So get and set are very important, and you will understand more when we'll be creating our own variables. To add a new custom variable, what we have to do is first we have to go to here, and here is an option called my items, and you can see global variables and local variables there. So what exactly is that? So global variable is variable which we usually add in top side of our code. Usually it is in global and can be accessed from anywhere. So if I write another code and call it or add one to this value, then I can access it anywhere, any part of code. Like I can add in multiple functions. But local variables are the one which is kind of declared in a certain functions, and it can be used by this function only and not outside. So it is now testing it into this our node. What we will do is we will first work with these global variables, and for local variables especially we require subgraph to create to show the difference between these two. So I'll be doing global variables first, and then I will go for subgraph. So it's actually subgraph is kind of organizing our nodes. And next part we'll do local variables. So to add global variables, you can simply go to this add section. So it will add a variable, and we will create a filter which will count number when we press a image. So let's create it as global score. So you can name it any. And if you go to this section, you can see first one is name. So if you go to in this type section, you can see different types here. And number is simply we write in code as int, and we define different values like score equals to 0. So this 0 is number, so we are using 0, so we use integer. And other one is float for this number or decimal numbers, so we can use both decimal and other number in this number section in type. And boolean is simply true and false. And this is code reference I am giving. You need basic knowledge for to understand this, or you can simply understand by looking in this section only also. And other than that, the string one is that will allow us to use this characters. So we can write word like these names and other messages if you use a string. Other than that, there are color. So what it does is it allows us to use different colors, and it will come handy when we change color of that filter or images. And vector 2 is x and y, and vector 3 refers to axis. All these are axis, and x, y, z, and similarly to vector 4. And there is texture, which is about image that we add, and this rectangle allow us to do while we create certain games. And this scene object is for that object that are available here. And materials are simply changing color of that 3D model or the materials color. We will use some of them later in this example only. And other than that, now what we are going to do is we are going to create a filter which allows us to change the score when we tap button. So from our previous effect experience, what we require is we require a texture, and I have added a emoji texture. So you can use any texture you want. Let's disconnect it. Now to add a texture, you need to go to this our screen image or your image section, and simply change it to the one you have added. And drag it to this point. Now what we are trying to do is we want to show a score when we press this emoji. So we have to go to add object and add a text option here, 2D text, and rename it as score. And place here, and you can simply change the size from here as you require. Now what we are planning is we are planning to tap this emoji and change this text option. So what we require is we want to set or tap. So you can simply add node and screen image tab. So when you add this option, you have image option, so you can click here and you can add that one. and other one is we want to change this text value. So what we are trying to do is we want to set a value that will be our score. So what we have to do is we have to go to this text option, and now we don't want get, but we want set, as we are assigning our value. Now what we want to do is we want to add a score. So what we have to do is, here is our global score, and we want it as our number, as score will be always in number, and go. At first we are assigning our value, so we are going to add set variables. Now what we require is, as we want to increment our value, so we require the current value as well. So we will add get variable of this our variable as well. So now what we will do is, when we are going to press this one, we want to increment it by 1. So add, which is our math node, and we will increment it by 1. Then take this value to here. So what this is doing is, it is getting the value, current value of our number, and adding it by 1 when we press, or we will tap the image. Now we know when we connect this value here and give this data to this our other value, then it will start to work. But we can see it added another node, which is data converter, and we know our score is in number, but it is in string. So we need a data converter that will convert our this number into string. So data converter node is also another important node, which help us to convert our nodes that to our required. Like if your variable is in texture or any other, what you have to do is you simply need to convert it into this color vector, and the output from this you will be able to use in other areas. Now we will test it. So if you press here, you can see it is increasing by 100, as I have added here 100. So if you change it to 1, now we can see it is incrementing our score by +1. So we may require this one for our another course, so you can simply comment it and name it score and move this one. So as we have done this global score for number, and next is our container. So what it does is, so I'll be creating new variables to show that one. So if you go here and select materials, so if it is single, you can only add one input. So what array does is, it helps us to add different or more than one value, so that we can use in our filter. I'll show it by example. So create materials. Here I have created 3 materials, but I haven't given color to them. So you can simply go here and create material standard PBR from this sign and choose colors. Now what you can do in arrays, you can add multiple values like this one, and you can now go in this material list, then add set variables, then add set variables. Now what we'll do is we'll add a 3D object. Let's add a sphere and hide text for now, and move this one a bit here. Now as we want to change the color of this sphere, what we have to do is we have to set value or set material. So simply select here and select set material. Now what we have to do is we have to feed this value to our materials. So for that you have to add node called get item from array. So what it does is it gets item, like it gets item from this array, and it will add to our this material. Now what we have to do is, now I'll show you this. If you add this as 1, just add update, then add this one. Now you can see if you add the value of that particular list, then you will see that it is changing the color according to here. So what it shows is we can simply give multiple inputs if we use array for our filter, or for this one if you use variables array, then you can use multiple inputs, like I'm using red, green and blue. Now what we can do is we can simply increase this index value by using counter. So if you add counter and set how many this list you have, like we have 2, then disconnect it and add update to this increase, and execute it from here. And we have to delay it, so wait for seconds. And if you add that in increase, you can see it's changing value automatically, and as we have step 1, it is not showing 0. So what you can do is you can do 0.5. Now you can see it's automatically changing different colors. So the purpose of this effect is to show that we can give multiple inputs using array. So you can add different nodes and make it creative as well, but for this filter it's only showing that we can use multiple inputs through array. Similarly, if you do this type for every other thing, it's similar. So either you can add it as single value or array. You can add anyone you require and you can get the output you want. So this is most for global variables.